The atmosphere is thick with uncertainty as the episode opens, and from the very first moment, it's clear that emotions are running dangerously high. Madeline sits alone in the bathroom, the harsh white light reflecting off the tiled walls as she stares down at the pregnancy test in her trembling hands. This is not just another dramatic moment for reality television. This is a crossroads that could permanently alter the course of her relationship with Matthew and redefine the fragile balance within their already strained family dynamic. For weeks, subtle hints have been building toward this moment. Madeline has felt off, emotionally overwhelmed, physically exhausted, and mentally torn between excitement and fear. She hasn't told Matthew everything she's feeling, and that silence has only deepened the distance between them. The pregnancy test represents more than a possible child. It represents truth, accountability, and consequences. As the seconds tick by, Madeline's breath grows shallow, her mind racing through every possible outcome. A positive result could bind her and Matthew together forever, or tear them apart completely. Meanwhile, Matthew is unaware that this pivotal moment is unfolding. He's outside, pacing back and forth, already on edge from mounting family tension. His relationship with his father has always been complicated, but recently it's reached a boiling point. Matthew's father has grown increasingly vocal about his concerns, especially when it comes to Greta. What began as passive disapproval has now turned into open confrontation, and it's clear he's no longer willing to stay silent. Greta, for her part, remains defiant. She refuses to believe she owes anyone an explanation, least of all Matthew's father. Her presence has become a lightning rod for conflict, and every interaction feels like it could ignite into something explosive. She believes she's being unfairly blamed for issues that run far deeper than her actions alone. Yet even she can sense that something bigger is looming, a shift that could change everyone's position in this tangled web of relationships. Back in the bathroom, Madeline's hands tighten around the test as the result slowly reveals itself. Her heart pounds so loudly it feels impossible that no one else can hear it. Memories flash through her mind. Early conversations with Matthew about the future, vague promises, unresolved arguments, and the lingering question of whether either of them is truly ready for what might come next. She knows that no matter what the test says, nothing will ever be the same. As she steps out of the bathroom, the weight of the moment follows her like a shadow. Matthew looks up immediately, his face searching hers for answers she hasn't yet found the courage to give. There's a pause, long, uncomfortable, and heavy with expectation. This silence speaks louder than any words could. Matthew senses that something significant has happened, and his anxiety spikes. Before Madeleine can speak, the tension is interrupted by the arrival of Matthew's father. His entrance shifts the energy in the room instantly. He doesn't waste time on pleasantries. His expression is stern, his posture rigid, and his purpose unmistakable. He's here to confront Greta, and he's ready to say everything he's been holding back. The confrontation is immediate and intense. Matthew's father accuses Greta of causing division, of manipulating situations, and of refusing to take responsibility for the chaos surrounding the family. Greta fires back just as quickly, her voice sharp with frustration and resentment. She insists she's being scapegoated, that Matthew's family issues existed long before she entered the picture. Their voices rise, overlapping, each unwilling to back down. Matthew is caught in the middle, visibly torn between loyalty and exhaustion. He tries to intervene, but his attempts fall flat. Years of unresolved resentment are spilling out all at once, and no one is listening anymore. Madeleine watches silently, the pregnancy test result weighing heavily on her mind as she realizes how fragile this family truly is. The idea of bringing a child into this environment suddenly feels terrifying. As the argument escalates, Matthew's father makes it clear that he fears the consequences of the choices being made, not just for Matthew, but for everyone involved. His concern, though harshly delivered, comes from a place of deep worry. He wants stability, accountability, and honesty, and he doesn't believe Greta represents any of those things. Greta, in turn, feels cornered and misunderstood, lashing out to protect herself. The room feels like it's closing in. Emotions are raw, tempers are flaring, and the unspoken truth of Madelein's pregnancy test hangs in the air like a ticking time bomb. She knows that revealing the result now could either silence the room or cause an even bigger explosion. The timing feels impossibly wrong, and yet delaying the truth may only make things worse. As the confrontation reaches its peak, the episode leaves viewers with more questions than answers. Is Madeleine pregnant? How will Matthew react when he finally learns the truth? Will Matthew's father's confrontation permanently damage already fragile relationships? And where does Greta fit into all of this once the dust settles? One thing is certain. After this moment, nothing will ever go back to the way it was. The tension has exploded and the fallout is only just beginning. The silence that follows the heated exchange is almost unbearable. Everyone in the room seems frozen in place, as if a single wrong move could shatter what little stability remains. Matthew's father stands firm, arms crossed, his expression a mix of frustration and disappointment. Greta refuses to look away, her jaw clenched, her pride wounded but unbroken. Matthew runs a hand through his hair, overwhelmed, while Madeleine feels the weight of her secret pressing harder against her chest with every passing second. This moment forces Madeleine into an emotional reckoning. Watching the family fracture in real time makes her question everything: her relationship with Matthew, her place in his world, and whether love alone is enough to survive this level of chaos. The pregnancy test result feels like a silent verdict, one that could tip the balance in any direction. She realizes that no matter how long she delays, the truth will surface, and when it does, it will demand accountability from everyone involved. Matthew finally breaks the silence, his voice unsteady as he asks what this confrontation is really about. His father doesn't hesitate. He explains that he's terrified Matthew is repeating the same mistakes that have plagued their family for generations, rushing into decisions without fully understanding the consequences. He warns that bringing a child into instability only magnifies unresolved problems. Though his words are harsh, there's an unmistakable note of fear beneath them. He doesn't want to lose his son to poor choices or emotional burnout. Greta scoffs at the implication, accusing Matthew's father of using concern as a weapon. She claims she's being blamed for dynamics she didn't create and insists that Matthew is capable of making his own decisions. Her voice cracks slightly, revealing that beneath her defiance lies deep insecurity. She feels like an outsider fighting for legitimacy in a family that has already judged her. The confrontation isn't just about control, it's about belonging. As emotions spiral, Matthew begins to shut down. He feels torn between defending the people he cares about and escaping the pressure altogether. The stress is visibly taking its toll, and Madeleine notices the distance growing between them. She wonders how he will react when she finally shares the pregnancy test result. Will it pull him closer out of responsibility, or push him further away under the weight of expectation? Unable to stay silent any longer, Madeleine speaks up, her voice soft but resolute. She asks everyone to stop, if only for a moment. The room quiets as all eyes turn to her. There's something in her tone that signals the seriousness of what she's about to say. Her hands shake slightly as she explains that the tension, the arguments, and the lack of communication are affecting her deeply. She admits she's scared, not just about the future, but about the present. This family conflict isn't abstract anymore, it's personal and it's overwhelming. Matthew immediately senses that something bigger is coming. He steps closer to Madeleine, his expression filled with concern and confusion. She looks at him, searching his face for reassurance, for any sign that they're still on the same team. The pregnancy test feels heavier than ever now, and she struggles to find the right words. She knows that once she speaks, there's no turning back. Before she can continue, Matthew's father softens, just slightly. He apologizes for raising his voice and acknowledges that his approach may have caused more harm than good. It's a rare moment of vulnerability from him, one that briefly diffuses the hostility in the room. He admits that his fear often comes out as anger, especially when he feels like he's losing control over situations he can't fix. This honesty shifts the dynamic. reminding everyone that fear, not malice, is driving much of the conflict. Greta, though still defensive, listens. For the first time, she doesn't interrupt. She appears conflicted, torn between protecting herself and understanding the emotional stakes involved. The confrontation has stripped away pretenses, exposing raw nerves on all sides. There's no clear villain here, only people struggling to cope with change, uncertainty, and the fear of irreversible decisions. Madeleine takes a deep breath, her moment approaching. She glances briefly at the pregnancy test still tucked away, unseen but ever present. The episode lingers on her face, capturing the mix of fear, hope, and determination in her eyes. She knows that this revelation could either unite them in responsibility or fracture them beyond repair. The tension is palpable, stretching to its breaking point. As the scene draws to a close, the truth remains unspoken, but its presence dominates everything. Relationships are hanging by a thread, emotions are raw, and the future feels dangerously uncertain. The audience is left on edge, knowing that the next words out of Madeleine's mouth could change everything, forever. The explosion of tension hasn't ended. It's only paused, gathering strength for what comes next. The room feels unnaturally still, as though everyone is bracing for an earthquake they know is coming but cannot stop. Madeleine's silence stretches longer than anyone expects, and in that quiet, every unresolved emotion seems to resurface at once. She finally lifts her head, her eyes glossy but steady, and in that moment it becomes clear that whatever she is about to say will mark a point of no return. She begins slowly explaining how the last few weeks have forced her to confront fears she never thought she would face so soon. She talks about feeling alone even when surrounded by people, about questioning whether love is enough when stability is missing, and about the pressure of expectations that no one ever voices directly. Her words are not accusatory, but they are honest, and honesty cuts deeper than anger ever could. Then she reveals the truth. She took a pregnancy test because she needed clarity, because the uncertainty was consuming her. The moment lands like a shockwave. Matthew freezes, his mind struggling to process what he's hearing. His father's expression changes instantly, the anger draining from his face and giving way to alarmed concern. Greta stiffens, instinctively preparing for blame even before it's spoken. Madeleine doesn't immediately say the result. Instead, she explains what the possibility alone has already done to her. She talks about imagining a child growing up in the middle of unresolved conflict, about the fear of repeating cycles of emotional damage, and about the responsibility that comes with bringing a life into the world. Her voice trembles as she admits that she is terrified, not just of becoming a mother, but of what kind of environment that child would inherit. Matthew finally finds his voice, asking the question everyone has been holding their breath for. His tone is soft, almost fragile. Madeleine looks at him for a long moment before answering. The test is negative, but the relief is complicated. Instead of celebration, the result forces a deeper realization. The absence of a pregnancy doesn't erase the problems they are facing. If anything, it exposes them more clearly. The reaction is mixed. Matthew exhales sharply, overwhelmed by relief and guilt all at once. He realizes how close they came to a life-altering responsibility without ever truly being prepared for it. His father sits down slowly, shaken by how real the possibility suddenly feels. He admits that the thought of becoming a grandfather under these circumstances terrified him. Not because he wouldn't love the child, but because he fears repeating mistakes he made as a parent himself. Greta's reaction is quieter than expected. She doesn't lash out. Instead, she reflects. She admits that the confrontation forced her to see how defensive she's been, how quickly she assumed hostility instead of recognizing fear. She acknowledges that she may have contributed to the tension by refusing to engage honestly. It's not an apology, but it's a step toward accountability. The conversation shifts from accusation to reflection. Matthew admits that he has been avoiding conflict instead of addressing it, hoping things would resolve themselves. He realizes now that silence has only allowed resentment to grow. Madeleine tells him that love without communication is fragile and that nearly facing parenthood made her understand how serious their situation truly is. Matthew's father speaks again, this time with humility. He acknowledges that his confrontational approach pushed people away instead of protecting them. He admits that his fear of losing control masked a deeper fear of losing his son emotionally. This admission changes the tone of the room, reminding everyone that generational wounds don't disappear on their own. They require conscious effort to heal. As the tension slowly eases, a new understanding begins to form. There are no easy resolutions, no dramatic reconciliations. Instead, there is a quiet agreement that things cannot continue as they have been. Boundaries need to be set. Conversations need to happen before resentment takes root. And most importantly, decisions about the future must be made with honesty, not avoidance. The episode closes with Madeleine alone again, reflecting on how close everything came to unraveling completely. The negative test brings relief, but it also serves as a warning, a glimpse into a future that could arrive at any moment if nothing changes. She knows now that clarity is not just about answers, it's about courage. Matthew joins her, and for the first time in a long while, they talk without defensiveness. There is uncertainty ahead, but also the possibility of growth. The tension that exploded earlier has left scars, but it has also forced truths into the open. As the screen fades to black, one message is clear. The pregnancy test may not have changed their lives directly, but it changed everything about how they see their future. And whether they choose to grow together or apart will depend on what they do next.